Hello, everybody. Hope everybody had a good weekend. It was fun to sit and watch all the games, and it's amazing how much you learn even after the many years that I've been in coaching. You start looking at situations, and it's a great refresher for you to go back and study time management, special teams plays, what the analytics have done to change our game, and who goes for the fourth down and who doesn't, and fakes. It was a fun weekend. Very quickly on the recap of the Miami game. So happy we won. I'll never apologize for a win because that's what we're supposed to do. And then our guys found a way to win in the fourth quarter and overcame a lot of adversity to do it. Defensively, we did a great job forcing turnovers, forcing the 3 turnovers and getting a fourth down stop. Which was the difference in the game. And then obviously the last turnover that saved the game. Offensively, ran for a bunch of yards, 228, I think, scored 45 points. Alabama scored 44 against Miami. Had a great day. What do we need to change defensively? We've got to get off the field better on 3rd and 4th downs. They had a 4th and 10. They had a 3rd and 7, 8, 2 or 3 times. We had them backed up at the 3-yard line. You can't possibly let them off the goal line. We had chances to have closed out the game 2 or 3 times, and then we're giving up too many big plays. Offensively, I thought they did a tremendous job the entire game till the last 2 series, and the one with 8 minutes left, we got to make a first down. We got to kill some clock. We got to get down and get a few more points. You're up by 11, and then the last one, we just did a very poor job. I think we only took 16 seconds off the clock because they had 3 timeouts and didn't make a first down. So happy to win the game. A lot of great things in the game. We're getting better. A lot of things we've got to get fixed, obviously. But the most important thing is we overcame some adversity and found a way to win. And that's what we haven't done in the 3 games that we have lost. A lot of great young players that we watched in the open date that were fun. They competed against each other. The 2 young quarterbacks had pretty much the full week. Sam practiced a little bit, but not a whole lot. We took some of the older guys out and let them get rested. Still worked on Notre Dame, but mostly worked a lot on the young guys, and the future looks great. It was also fun for the guys to get to go out and watch high school games again. It's so hard to evaluate people when you don't even get to meet them. And so now we get to go back out and talk to high school coaches. We get to see high school games and gives us a lot better chance to get ahead for the 23 class, because we'll know a lot more about those guys than we did even the 21s and 22s because of all the COVID setbacks over the last couple of games. When we start looking at the next 5 weeks of our season, we said we have a 6-week season left. When we started Miami, we beat them, so we're 1-0. 5 games left, 4 ranked teams, 3 on the road. We haven't played well on the road, and we'll be underdogs in 4 of those games. So got a fun, challenging schedule ahead, but it'll really be it'll really make our program show continued growth to play well during this stretch, because it's a tough one, and we're continuing to learn how to handle adversity on the road, and that's not going to slow down. You start looking at offensively, we just need to be more consistent, and we got to find ways to continue to run the ball. We've gotten the ball to Josh Downs a lot. We've gotten the ball to our backs some. We've gotten the ball to our tight ends a lot. We've got to get the ball to our outside receivers more. We had the big play to Antoine Green last week, but we've got to include them more in what we're doing. Defensively, I think the biggest thing is we got to get off the field on 3rd and 4th downs, and we've got to do a better job against the big play. We're playing great, and then we'll give up a 50-yard run. So we've got to do better in those areas. And special teams, we're actually doing really well. We're getting better. The punter at Miami, who is one of the best in the country, Gio Biggers blocked the punt with part of his arm, but the guy adjusted the kick so much it should have been our 3rd block kick. So it was 2.5 because it didn't go backwards. But we're doing a great job of rushing the punter. Jaquarius Conley had the really good kickoff, and Josh Downs continues to do a good job with our punt returns because their punter was more sporadic last Saturday than 2 Saturdays ago than I have ever seen him. Notre Dame, congrats to Brian Kelly on beating Newt Rockney's record for being the all-time winningest coach in Notre Dame history. That's really special. Brian does it right. He's a tremendous coach. He is not a guy that's negative in recruiting. They go by the rules. They've got really bright kids, and they're very well coached, and they're kind of the standard that we'd like to be. You start looking at what they've done. They've won 37 straight against unranked opponents. They're 27-1 in their home stadium over the last 28 games. So they're lost to Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago. But they've got an older team this year. They had an older team last year, and you think, well, they're going to lose all these guys, and they get the quarterback from Wisconsin, and they just reload. So it's still a really good looking team with a lot of seniors and grad transfers on it. So he's done a tremendous job with that program for many, many years. And he's been there a long time. It's hard to stay places a long time. I know that for sure. But give Brian credit. And that'll be a real challenge for us this weekend. Questions? Excuse me. I had one other thing, Mark, if we could, the transfer portal. We had Josh Henderson go in the transfer portal this morning. We said last week what we would do is sit down with every young man and go over exactly where we feel like he is right now in our program and the projections for him. So most of the guys that leave are leaving because they want to get more playing time, or they want to be the featured player at their position. And it's our job to be honest and tell them exactly how we feel about where they are right now and where they are moving forward. I've thought a lot about the transfer portal. I don't like the fact that young people now, if they get so they want something more, they leave immediately. They don't stay with their team, but at the same time, they can go on official visits and they can start looking at their next opportunity. And they also don't want to stay and get hurt. So I understand that completely. And Josh is a great young man, and he's done everything right in this program. And I told him yesterday that I understand completely, and that we will help him go where he would like to go. And at the same time, if a guy's not totally into trying to win the game at Notre Dame, then he shouldn't be on the trip either. So that's what you do with transfer portal. You try to handle it. I thought at one time maybe there should be stronger guidelines that you couldn't get in the portal until after your last game, and then give them a month or two to be able to do it. But at the same time, from the head coach's standpoint, you know more about your roster management. If someone leaves now, you've got other guys that you need to get prepared to play. If someone's not completely bought in, and it helps you know at the end of the year how many scholarships you've got available with this crazy roster management, even when last year the NCAA gave everybody an extra year. So we wish Josh luck. Now, questions.
All right, thanks, Coach. We will begin with CL Brown.
Hey, Mac, I'm gonna start with one that's maybe a little strange, but I was curious with the road performances from this year. Is there anything that you will kind of change or tweak in terms of your Saturday routine during the day leading up to actually getting to the stadium and playing the game Saturday night?
CL, it's a good question, and we asked it this summer and actually tweaked it. So now they go back out, and we have a stretching and a period with Coach Hess on Saturday that we've never had before in my whole career, about midday, making sure they're out of bed and making sure they're not sitting there just watching games and getting distracted. So we meet them 2 or 3 times during the day. We get them up, we get them moving around. And at the same time, now we get them with Coach Hess. So I don't think there's anything we can do better except play better on the road. I think we've handled the rest of it.
And have you talked with the team? How much a win at Notre Dame. I mean, you just gave the stats, of how they play at home and against unranked teams. How much a win at Notre Dame would kind of change the narrative of this season?
I've talked to them, CL, about the last 5 games, and I've said you could still win the last 5, or you could lose 4 of those 5 pretty easily. We'll be a heavy favorite over Wofford, but the other 4 we will be an underdog. So you could walk out of here, win 9 games, and make people who are disappointed in you really happy, and come out of this thing really, really well, or you could lose them all. So that's who you are. And what we've got to do is keep building as a program, because obviously our goals have changed. We're trying to get the seniors to finish right, get them in a bowl game. And we've got to win 2 of these games to even get to a bowl. So I think our guys are fully aware that they saw Pittsburgh and Clemson on Saturday. They know NC State's playing well. Wake's got the best team in their school history. They're undefeated. I saw for the first time 7-0 since 1944. So we've got our hands full here to finish, but I think it's great for us. It's going to show us where we are, and the things that it's going to get all of us more realistic about where we are in our program than when we were in preseason. And at the same time, it'll show us the things that we need to get accomplished in spring practice.
Thanks.
One thing Notre Dame did, CL, last year is the second half. They were the only team that a little bit fourth quarter with A&M, but those 2 were the 2 that absolutely beat us down and physically beat us down, and had a big run in the fourth quarter, but our defense hung in there. But offensively against Notre Dame, we did not play well the second half at all. And that was with one of the best offenses I've ever been around, and they absolutely physically just beat us. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's, as our kids say, it's facts. And that was the only time last year that I thought we had no chance to win the game with our offense the second half.
Okay, let's go to Dina King.
Hey, Coach, entering the season recruiting-wise, you said the class was going to be small. Currently, you got 15 guys committed. With the transfer portal guys hitting that, will that increase your total that you're gonna get this year?
They know we think so. We look at it every day, and we are not going to take a player that we really didn't want and just take him because we've got one available, because we'll look at the transfer portal more openly this spring, this January, than we have in the past. And you want to see what's available at 2 or 3 positions there that we might could upgrade. But I'm telling you now, roster management has never been like this. It's we could have a guy, while I'm standing here talking to you, decide he's going in the portal this afternoon, and that changes the numbers again. So, and I've told our coaches, you can't worry about the transfer portal. It is what it is. And if somebody leaves, that means they didn't want to be here, and that's better for your program. So don't worry about it. It's nearly like free agency. We've got to figure out what happens to your numbers. But if you had 2 or 3 leave at one position, Dana, then obviously you'd have to go to the transfer portal, because you wouldn't be able to get the freshmen in time to fill that slot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Ross Martin.
Hey, Coach Brown, I wanted to have a follow-up on the transfer situation. What does that conversation look like with the player and you? And I'm assuming a coordinator or a position coach. Can you tell us a little more about that conversation? You talked about Josh Henderson, but can you speak on the other 2 transfers, Chaffee Brown and Clyde Pinder, 2 players who mentioned a lot in the preseason had a chance to help y'all this year?
Yeah, all 3 were helping us. And I'm not going to go into what all 3 did and what they liked and what they didn't like. But those conversations are very personal, Ross. I never meet with anyone by myself. I always have someone else in the room, and I learned that a long time ago. So the conversation is very clear that 3 people heard it, not just one, because sometimes young people hear things that they think you said when you didn't say them. So I want to make that very, very clear. And I do it with everybody, just to make sure that we're on record. Because I've had a few come back and say, here's what you said. And I said, it's not what I said. And we'll go back. Sometimes it's 5 people, sometimes it's 4, but it's not going to be the 2 of us. And the biggest thing is, Ross, most guys that go in the transfer portal, in our experience, has been because they either weren't getting the ball enough, they weren't starting, or they weren't getting enough snaps. And all three of those players have been quality players for us, but all three wanted something different than they were getting here, and that's fair. That's what I said. If an assistant coach came in today and said, I want to quit, that's his choice. In America, we have free choices. If any of you want to quit today, your boss might say, well, why are you quitting, Ross? And you might say, I just want to. I've got better opportunities somewhere else. Well, the timing's bad. Doesn't matter. That's what I want to do. So it is what it is. But the conversations have all been great. The kids have been great. Every young person that's left this program, I think, has been placed somewhere, and that's sure not the case with the transfer portal. And we work really, really hard with those young people. And I told Josh the same yesterday. Anything that we can do to help you, make sure that you ask us. And at the same time, Ross, we've said, if anybody ever says that someone in this program said something negative about you, it's not true, because you've done everything right, and we're going to help you in any way we can.
Okay, Aaron Beard, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, when you're coming out of an open week, what is more important to you? Schematic changes and tweaks when you're maybe not playing as well as you want, or a mental reset for the players, sort of the fresh start, but sticking with what you've been doing?
I think, Aaron, it's really both. When you start looking at open dates, you have to be careful. I used to call it an off week. The players said it's not off. So they were right. So I got that. So we called it a bye, or we call it open. We don't call it off. But the studies say that you have more injuries in preseason and your bye week than any other time of the year. So you have to be really, really smart during your bye week. And I think it's because probably people hit more during that week because you've got more time before you play again. They're looking at a lot of the young guys and they're trying to be really physical. And probably some of the players aren't as focused because they don't have a game that weekend, and some are tired. So we obviously take that into consideration, because you don't want to lose some guys. So that's number one, make sure that we end up the week healthy. Number two, it's a great time to reevaluate each side, all of your three phases. So you make a harsh evaluation of what you're doing well and what you need to fix. And you even talk sometimes on opposite side of the ball. Phil may ask Jay, talk about what do you like, what we're doing, what's tough for you when we do this, and vice versa. And the same thing in the kicking game. And then the third part is reevaluating some of your younger ones, and try to see now with roster management again, if you've got 4 games that they can play in, and that counts a bowl game. So who plays in that 5th one now? Do you hold somebody? Is he talented enough that he's going to try to go to the NFL in 3 years anyway? So you're looking at a lot of different scenarios with personnel. One of the things that happened when we were really good here before and we were really good at Texas is you beat people every week badly enough, everybody got to play. So morale was high. And at the same time, you were able to evaluate all your young ones, and you didn't get the older ones hurt. They weren't playing that much. But when you did, somebody else was ready to come in. And right now we're playing a lot of young ones, but we're playing them trying to win. We're not in that position where the game's over the second series of the third quarter. So put everybody in, let everybody have fun, and we'll get there. We're headed that way. But right now we've got to look at those freshmen and see who should redshirt, who should not, who should be playing more here at the end. And you don't want to play him in a 5th game and then him not play well, or he gets hurt and then he loses his year. So a lot of moving parts right now with roster management, with who plays, and what do you change coming out of your bye week.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you.
All right, Luciano, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I hope you're doing well, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
a little follow-up on that. You mentioned your preparation for Notre Dame and getting a head start on recruiting, but was there something specific you worked upon the most during this bye week football-wise? I mean, was there a specific aspect of your game that you wanted to work on?
I think you go back and look at everything that you've done negatively. We looked at every third down and long that we didn't stop. We looked at the fourth down and longs that we didn't stop. We looked at why the quarterbacks are scrambling and getting out. Why don't we have contain? We looked at our games up front and our blitzes. Why aren't we getting there? Because you either got to get there or you got to contain, one of the two. And in the cases that we were unsuccessful, we didn't do either. Offensively, we're looking at sacks. We've had too many since we've been here. So why? And when do we have them? And is it holding the ball too long? Is it somebody missing an assignment up front? Why do we have mistakes? Why do we have long plays? So every negative thing that we've done in the first 7 games of the season, we pulled out and talked about individually, each one of them, why, and what are we going to do to change that and be a better football team the last 5 games, excuse me.
Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, going back to what you were talking about with the young guys and determining which ones you want to get on the field and the other ones you kind of worry about the 4-game maximum. Are you challenged pretty significantly with a few guys that you might want to get them on right now, but there's a concern about that 4-game maximum?
No, but there's guys, Andrew, like Caleb Hood. He's been hurt and he's played in 4. So at this point with DJ and THI playing well, when does he get 100%? And at that point, do you put him in and can he help on special teams in other areas? Or do you look at holding him? And right now the thought would be you would play him because we're still got 5 games left and hopefully a 6th. But that would be part of it. And then I'm hoping the coaches propose that the bowl game not count as one of your 4 games for red shirts because of opt-outs, because more guys opted out last year, and especially for us than other places. So why wouldn't we allow, if you have opt-outs, freshmen to play in the bowl game and not take up their full year if they've only played in 4 games previous to going into that? So there's a lot of things you look at now. Guys like Ra and Power have played. They've been on all the special teams. Guys like Bryson Nesbitt have played. He's been out there a bunch. So there's certain guys that are there, but every week we have a chart of how many games each player has played in. And now, Andrew, we're just looking more closely at, should we hold him? Should we turn him loose and play? Because the danger is if a young freshman is played in 4 and you play him in a 5th and he gets hurt and can't play the rest of the year, he loses that year. So you've just got to try to make a very smart decision with each one.
It was about this time a year ago when a few freshmen kind of surged forward and took on bigger roles. Do you have any guys that are kind of close to popping into that situation and taking on a much bigger role that we'll see perhaps Saturday night or over the last 4 regular season games?
I don't think so. I think that's what we're talking about this week and looking. You know, you could possibly have a JJ Jones step up. KJ Binkley has lost some weight. He's getting better. So with Clyde leaving, you could see KJ out there more in the interior of the line role because we think he'll be a special player at some point, and he keeps getting better every week. We are playing William Barnes a lot more. We are playing Ed Montelis a lot more. We're hoping that Brian Anderson now should be more near healthy. So he and Q Johnson can be healthy here at the end with the last 5 weeks. And we're still working Caden Baker at both tackle and center. But I do think that by and large, the guys that we've seen are the ones that will probably see the most here in the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg Barnes, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, I realize the difficulty in answering this, but after the Florida State game, you talked about how the team had not handled adversity in the 3 losses compared to what it did, back in 2019, 2020. Team handled adversity in the win over Miami. Could you tell anything after that game and watching film and being in the locker room, how the guys handled it better and maybe what flipped the switch?
Greg, it is a great question, and it's one of those that is hard to answer. Leadership is always a huge question mark on teams. And in the pros, a lot of times that stays the same because it's the same players. In college, the dynamic of your team changes every year. We lost a tremendous leader in Michael Carter. He was just special. He was high energy every day. He wasn't going to let the guys have a bad practice. And hopefully now we're starting to see some guys help out the Sams and the Jeremiah Gimmels, because we haven't had as many guys step up as we would like. But we talked about it so much, and we showed them situations in the Florida State game where after the 60-yard run, we had bad body language, got our head down. The offense didn't come back and answer when their quarterback made the huge run. And then it seems like the air goes out of us, and that's against everything we're teaching. It's against everything that has to be good in a college football program to be successful. And it's a part of life that you need to handle when you get out, because you're going to have some bad days and you better pick it up on those bad days. So we'll be tested here a lot the last 5 games. And I'm excited about this. This is, we've got a really tough schedule in hard places to play. And it's time for us to grow up. So we'll see what we get out of the next 5 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Coach, that was our last one for today. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you all. We'll see you Wednesday.